Hi everyone, Doug and Scott here from the WealthMed property team. Hope you're doing well today. We're here to talk to you about property growth in the Sunshine Coast, and as I'm sure you're aware, things are moving on pretty quickly at the moment in the property market. And so we're here today to tell you a little bit more about what's happening in the market and about what you can do about it. So the agenda for today, number one, the state of the market, how it's all traveling. Number two is the budget that came out just recently and what that means for property. Number three, should I wait or buy now? It's a big question that a lot of people have been asking us. And number four, what you need to do right now to make it all happen. So we'll take it away with the state of the market.
Thanks, Doug. So, state of the market, we're going to focus on the Sunshine Coast today. You've probably seen, probably heard that we are on fire at the moment. It is just going off. So we want to explore a little bit about why that is and what's produced it, and is it going to keep going? So I think we've broken it down to a little bit about pre-COVID, during COVID, and potentially what's going to happen after COVID. So pre-COVID, we're actually in a pretty good position here already. We had a very strong market. We had fairly tight supply and good demand. So it was a good starting point. During COVID then, we had a few changes to what's happening around. You've probably seen this already, but spending habits and changes came about and different work patterns happened. So the spending changes we had were things like people not going abroad as much. And I don't think any of us really realised how much of an impact that could really have. So instead, those people have been doing things around home, renovations, buying and selling new property. So it's been massive. On top of that, with work patterns, with people realising they can actually work from home or from elsewhere, that's actually created a lot of people coming up to the Sunshine Coast and staying here and living here. So that has created some really, really good demand for up here. At the same time, we've got super limited supply. We're already pretty tight, as I just said, but now with this extra demand, it has changed things. As we see every day, trying to find properties for our customers is hard work. We've got to really, really work for it and try and find the good stuff and grab it quickly. The type of buyers we're competing with tend to be cashed up. Most of the contracts seem to be unconditional, and that's hard work. And probably something to consider is it doesn't actually take too many people to change a market. I've got a little case study here of our local area here, Britannia. As of this morning, there were 11 houses for sale on realestate.com, just houses, not units. That represents only 1.3% of the total houses in the area. That's tiny. A rule of thumb, usually it's around 6 to 8% of houses in the area will be for sale at any one time. So that shows you just how tight the market is. On top of that, the rental vacancy rate is super low. It's at 0.7 and it got down to 0.4 in December, I think it was. Generally, 2% is considered a good rental market. Anything from 2 to 5%, now it's starting to get a bit slack. So what this means is 0.7 basically means it's very, very, very hard to find a rental, and you're going to have to be paying a lot more for that rental. Great for landlords, but a bit hard if you're in the rental market. So 11 houses for sale. It doesn't take many people to come, say, and work at the hospital here to soak up 11 houses. So you can see how just a few people coming up from Sydney or Melbourne, a few people locally moving into the area to be closer to work, it changes the game. So that's what we're experiencing at the moment. And with that, with the competition from the cash buyers, it starts to heat it up. We've seen some terrific gains. Some areas have been over 20%. So it's been awesome if you've been in the market. And this is one of those times where you want to be in the property market. This is one of those times we've been waiting for to get those good gains. So that's awesome. Post-COVID, is this going to continue? I think we can definitely see over the next couple of years that supply is going to be an ongoing issue. It's super tight here. Most of the big housing estates that the council sort of allocated for our area here, such as Aura, Harmony, they are so far ahead of themselves. They're selling property now that you can't even settle on until June next year, June 2022, a year away. It's crazy. So most of that's our main stock that isn't even there. other than that, some of the big areas that they're allowing for, like there's a big development going there, Twin Waters, they're miles away. They're not even started. They're years away. So I think, our general supply is going to be very tight. On top of that, we've got future banking policies going to actually tighten up again. So this will make it a little bit harder for people to get the loans, which you think would make would slow down the property market. But as we just said, most of these are cash buyers that are coming in, so they're not going to be affected by that. It's probably actually create scenarios where the rich get richer, unfortunately. So I don't think that's going to help slow down the market. So I definitely think the next couple of years, it might not keep up at this pace, but it's certainly going to be strong still.
Right. So with all that happening in mind, the budget came out just the other night. And so there were a few elements in the budget that does relate, particularly with first home buyers. And I just want to take you through those three main items that we took from the budget. So the first one is the family home guarantee. So what this allows is for single parents to be able to buy a home with just a 2% deposit and not have to pay any lender's mortgage insurance. This is really great. It means that they can have a super low deposit, which can help people get into the market sooner, providing that their borrowing capacity is in a position to be able to do so at that level. So the second one is the extra 10,000 places. So this is a continuation from the first home loan deposit scheme from the last budget that allows people to get into their first home with just a 5% deposit with no lender's mortgage insurance again. So this can be singles and couples. Now, not all banks provide the ability to be able to do this. There are a few lenders which we work with to be able to make this happen. So we need to sort of review and see which bank is able to provide you with this scenario if this is relevant for you. With our doctors, they're able to get the 95% with no LMI through their doctor's policy with certain banks as well. So we've got a few options out there for people. But it's good to know that our non-doctors as well are able to potentially engage in a similar sort of policy, which is great. The last one here is the first home super saver scheme. So again, this is something from the previous budget as well. It's increased from 30,000 to 50,000 that you can withdraw from your superannuation. And this poses an interesting sort of question, is it a good thing to take money from your super? So to answer that, if we were to compare the rate of growth for Australian shares versus Australian property, they're about the same, just depending on who's the flavour of the month at the time. So if we were to use, say, $10,000 from our superannuation in order to fund the deposit to get us into our first home, well, that's effectively just changing it from being shares in your superannuation to shares in your property. So as long as we hold on to the property long term, then that's okay. The danger comes into play if we sell the property and then spend that money on something else and we lose that money. So that's where there's a risk of using the money in an inappropriate way, where it does withdraw from your superannuation, because you do still need that.
Yeah, this is definitely an area that you need advice on from a financial planner.
Definitely. So there's some really great opportunities here for first home buyers. It's never been easier, if deposit is the big thing you're lacking in, to get into your first place.
Cool. So that's budget update. I guess the big question that we keep on getting asked is, should I wait or should I buy now?
Big question.
We every time the property market's gone up well, I reckon I've seen some sort of professor from some university talking about how property prices are about to drop 40%, and they never have. You've got to be so aware of the media hype. Sensationalism gets the results for them, but it's not actually real. We need to look a bit deeper. On the screen here, I've got two different graphs from two different sources, and they're both basically telling a very similar story. The first one's from Core Logic, and it's showing the median house price in houses and units growing over time from 93 to 2018. As you can see here, it's just rise after rise. We do get times where it'll drop a little bit, slow down, come up. Over the GFC here was a little bit of more crazy stuff going on, but generally our long-term growth is very strong. There's not drops by 40% at all. A similar one over here, this is from Russell Investments, which shows long-term, they have 10, 20 and 25 year long-term look backs over comparing investments. Looking here at Australian shares and Australian residential investment property. This is what Doug was talking about before. They're very close. Some years the shares are a little bit up, some year the property is, depending on which market's firing at the time. But it shows you it's just long-term growth here. There's no big dips going down in these either. So that's important to note. So coming back to the question, should I wait or buy now? If we're talking about property investing, and property investment is long-term, 10 years plus is how we view that. The best time to buy was obviously yesterday or 20 years ago, according to these.
Just go back in time.
According to these ones, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, that's not real. So the best time to buy is now. We don't know exactly what the future market's going to hold, but as long as we're in there for long term, we'll be able to get these growth patterns going up. We do also need to be sure that we're not confusing property investment with property speculation. Property speculation is where people are trying to time the market. They're trying to buy in now and sell it in a date not too far away and make some money on that in a short-term flip of a property. That's hard work. That's speculation as far as we're concerned. That's an added risk or danger involved in that. We prefer with our clients to look at property as an investment and hold it for long term. So you can get in with markets like it is now and get the good gains out of it. Having said that too, property selection is critical. You will find areas where property will drop by 40% or even more. We've seen it. Mining towns are a great example of this.
Yep.
They don't have the long-term fundamentals to hold those values up. Just avoid that sort of stuff. Stick with the nice, clean, easy, step-by-step sort of property and you'll be fine. Part of our job is to make sure that we get that property selection right. High-end properties, such as in our area, that might be places like Sunshine Beach, Mooloolaba on the water, Noosa on the water. Those sort of high-end properties will swing a bit more. When the market's going off, they'll jump up and go really well. And when the market comes off again, they'll swing back a little bit more. So they're a little bit of a different property type to hold and be prepared for that. But generally, they're still right. It's just got to be prepared for the swings on them. As I said before too, beware the media hype. I think now is a great time to buy as long as you're in there for the long term. Tomorrow will be more than yesterday. So,
begs the question, what do you need to do right now? So the very first thing, if you haven't already put it together, is getting your plan sorted. So here at WealthMed, we're not just buying property for the sake of it. Everything that we do has a financial planning viewpoint from that. We need to make sure that this is for a purpose and to help you get to your financial freedom, to your end goal, whatever that might be. So that's the very first element there. The next thing we need to do is we need to get your finances sorted. So now more than ever, banks are taking longer to process applications, possibly still with the effects of COVID-19 in overseas processing centres where things are putting strain on their usual timeframes. And the other thing is that sellers are a lot more demanding. So with cash buyers in the market and with lots of offers, lots of interest, sellers are wanting finance very quickly if you have to go under a finance clause. So getting a pre-approval is really critical to be able to get ready. And that's the last item here, get ready to action it. So we've got our finance pre-approval. We know what type of property we're after. We've run the numbers and we're just finding and waiting for that really good opportunity. And as soon as it rears its head, we snap and we jump and we secure it. So we still want to be selective. We're not just jumping into any old property. We need to run the numbers, need to make sure that we've checked all the bits and pieces to make sure it's a good investment property. And by doing these three items, then you'll be best placed to getting into an investment or a first home. So guys, that's about it from us today. There's so much more that we could go into and so much more detail we could dive into each element into. So if you would like to catch up with us and have a conversation about all of this, please give us a call. The number is on the screen. Alternatively, you can email Scott or myself. We'd love to tell you a bit more about how things are traveling and if you're able to get into a property now. And come into the office, come see us. We can answer all your questions. Apart from that, that's it from me. Scott.
That's it, guys. Just please reach out if you'd like to.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.